Day 2 of Commanders training camp is in the books. No real fireworks. They went a little bit longer. Still, just good to watch football. Let's have a podcast. What up, everybody? It's JP Finlay. It's Beltway football. Big man Mitch Tischler is here. Not to say we're in the meat of it, but day 1 of training camp is obviously this big celebratory, oh my gosh, we're back, football's back. Day 2, it's kind of just let's get to work. And I think that's what they did. Practice went a little longer. Got to watch a lot. Kind of made sure to walk around. Yesterday, it's just so hard not to just be absorbed by Jayden, but there's a whole lot else going on that you want to pay attention to. Von Miller spoke to the media today. I thought he was just really, really good. I don't know if there's anything specific you want to start on, big man.
Yeah, I think your point on camp, I think, is astute in that, you think about all these years of us covering this team. There's always training camp stories, and I'm not saying there aren't training camp stories this year, but there were real battles for positions. There were guys who were going up or down a spot based on how they played and, figuring out who was going to play where. Largely, we know who more or less the 22 starters are going to be, and certainly there's some, jockeying for position there, but the storylines of this camp are so much less because this team is finally a good football team.
Right.
And we're sitting here looking forward to week 1 as opposed to trying to figure out who the hell is going to, do what for this team. So, it's day 2. It's certainly not Groundhog Day yet, but getting close.
Totally. And I mean, really the only story is Terry. I don't even really think we need to get into it. He wasn't here today. There's no real update
That's
there.
It.
You did see some vets get the day off. Tunsil got the day off. Von Miller got the day off. I think there was a third.
Noah Brown had a day off.
Got the day off.
Yesterday, Dan Quinn talked about coming back from the injury last year and whatever happened during minicamp that they were gonna ramp him up. So that was expected.
We're gonna play the full Von Miller at the end of the pod, but I did think one of his comments was I love veteran day off. So
yeah.
I think the theory that DQ knows how to take care of his vets, it remains very, very true. I loved how Von Miller opened his remarks by saying, you don't leave Josh Allen to just go anywhere. And it shows what they've built here and what Jaden's reputation already is. I mean, Von called him one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's who he is. I don't see a sophomore slump coming. People can say whatever they want. I think he's just the real deal.
Yeah, I think he's the real deal, and I think you look at not just his play on the field, but I think, the guy that he is, cool, calm, collected. You talked a little yesterday about how he hasn't changed since the day we met him. And I think that goes a long way, particularly for veterans who are, looking to go find somewhere, to play, to have a leader like that who is, an everyday guy and is able to, kind of be one of the guys in the locker room, says a lot. Because there are a lot of quarterbacks who have that big time ego and, they're the man and whatnot. And not that Jaden isn't the man, but he doesn't have to tell you it because he shows it to you on the field every week.
Totally. I also love Von Miller's story about why he picked 24. Because a lot of people had that question, why is he wearing 24?
Yeah, it looks like an odd number on a pass rusher, but it was a great story.
It was a really cool story, and he started by man, the number stuff's not that serious to me, and just that previous numbers he had worn were already taken.
He talked about 58 and 40 both being taken here.
And then I love, he's like,
this is the best.
He's like, I wore 5 in middle school, but 5's obviously taken. For these guys to be showing that level of admiration or respect, whatever that is for Jayden, even though he's only in year 2, is earned.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember Tress joked about during OTAs maybe or minicamp, he's like, yeah, my wife was asking me, remember when you giving up that number was a big deal? And they both just started laughing.
Yeah. Well, and I think his wife was like, hey, pretty good idea to give it up. It worked out okay.
Totally. One thing I noticed with the Veterans Days off that I really, really liked was with Tunsil getting the day off, Andrew Wiley played left tackle. And I think as they're trying to develop Brandon Coleman, I don't even know if develop, but as they're trying to get Coleman used to being a guard, Tunsil's probably going to get a bunch of days off. That's probably how this is going to go.
Yeah.
I don't want them kicking Coleman back outside.
No. I
want it to be Wiley, and I want Coleman to get all of his work to be on the interior. I think that's very intentional. They've all talked about it, but I was really happy to see that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a lot under Ron Rivera, the positional flex stuff. And I remember talking to a defensive player about some of the positional flex stuff, and he was saying in his rookie season he was being asked to learn 4 different spots on the defense. And because he was being asked to learn so much, it was difficult to get good at any one thing. It's great that Brandon Coleman has the ability in a pinch to get kicked back outside. We've seen him play tackle in the league, but he needs every rep that he can get on the inside, and I really like that they're doing that with him. I think Wiley, I think you can look at the group of O-linemen, and I think it's probably going to be the best O-line this team has had in a very, very long time.
The Trent Sheriff days.
Yeah, since the Trent Sheriff days. Yeah, that's a good point. But it's not just good because the starting five seems like they're going to be solid.
At guard, that was a monster.
Eric, who was the
Flowers? That was after Secchi, right? Like he went to Buffalo.
That was Donald Penn and Eric. Anyways, we're getting down the. But it's not just the five guys who are going to be starting. It's you have Wiley, who can be your swing tackle, but can also kick inside at guard. We'll see what happens with Cosmi come the start of the season. But I could see Wiley getting that first opportunity to start inside if Cosmi isn't quite ready.
I think it will be.
Allegretti is a guy who can play both guard. We saw him do a little bit of play on a little bit of center last year. Today, he was doing a little bit of that out on the field. You know, you have a bunch of different guys who are the veterans and who have been around the league who can play a bunch of different places. And
Trent Scott
as well.
To that point, I think if you consider the offensive line from last year that they went in that had Wiley and Allegretti starting. Now, obviously, this doesn't happen until Cosmi's fully back healthy, and I want to talk about that too. But you're talking about an O-line that would ideally is Tunsil, Coleman, Biotish, Cosmi, Connerly, and then two guys that were starters for you last year are now your really versatile backup pieces in Allegretti and Wiley.
Yeah.
And I think for most of the season, Allegretti and Wiley were pretty good. There were injuries. Not every rep is great.
Right.
But, like, think about, like, just the level up when two guys that started for you last year are now going to be versatile backup pieces. And I think Wiley, maybe and/or Allegretti starts for Cosmi until he's back. But, like, they clearly invested a lot in this. And you hope it pays off. You don't know, but you got to like the direction it's going. I would say.
And as you talk about that starting five, it's way too early in camp to project what's going to happen week one, particularly with Cosmi, up in the air. I think Dan Quinn cleared up his comments on that a little bit. We'll get to it in a second. When you look at the starting group, I could see them doing something similar with Connerly like they did with Coleman last year, where he kind of split some of those starting reps to get him comfortable in the league and understanding what's happening. Now, we have another, however many weeks before we get to the start of camp, and Connerly could prove that he's ready to go right away and not have to do that. But the fact that you have 7, and if you want to include Trent Scott, 8 guys who have started in the league before.
Dieter.
And a Dieter
Dieter's
too.
9.
Herbig, I don't know if he's going to end up making it, but, you saw a lot. I saw today some of the stuff they want to do with that O-line, with the athleticism and getting them downfield. There was a Brandon Coleman, Josh Connerly screen pass where the two of them were the two lead blockers down there. These guys were at full speed as whatever the wide receiver was that was getting going, but they were out in front of them and they were, running those DBs down the field, grading a path for them. And I think that's a lot of what Cliff Kingsbury wants to do, and they have the athleticism now to kind of do a lot of that.
Yeah, I agree, dude. And I think so. I don't know if you'll agree with me here. Yesterday, we talked about DQ kind of saying week one for Cosmi, and I think I made a point of saying, like, I think that's more a roster machination thing than it is him actually playing week one.
Right.
It's, do you think he's going to be able to go week 3, so you don't want to put him on IR or whatever? DQ clarified that today and kind of made it clear, yes, we're talking more PUP versus IR versus week 1 active, all that, not like expectations of him starting week 1. And what Dan Quinn said that I thought was really interesting, and you and I aren't exactly on the same page with the Terry thing, but the way Quinn said, all right, a month from now is when we kind of need to start making a decision on Cosmi, on what his roster space is going to be. Are we going to, because, if you keep him on the active, you're burning an active spot. Now, granted, you have Saturday night call-ups, and the 53 is way more fungible now in the post-COVID world than it used to be. But, like, if they decide, to not put Cosmi on IR, whatever it is a relatively big deal within, like, the extreme minutia of football. But my bigger takeaway is DQ's like, yeah, about a month from now is when we really got to get serious about deciding about that. And I just hear those words, And I can't help but think of Terry's situation, that it's like, all right, about a month from now is when we got to really get serious about that. So their last preseason game is a month from yesterday. That's against the Ravens. None of their starters are going to play in that game. I don't know how much starters are going to play at all this preseason.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see that. I know that like ESPN, because it's Monday Night Football and it's Daniels versus Burrow, really hope so. I can't imagine Burrow plays in that game. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know how the Bengals will run things.
Who knows?
But like about a month from now is when you got to get real serious about what things look like week 1. And I just think that is a good reminder of the Terry McLaurin stuff with all the angst. Like, they want the practice, they want the work, they want all of that, but we're still so far away from football.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, that is, you hope that something is figured out by the time we get to within a month, but this is something that could have been starting to get figured out 5 months ago. You know, once you lose to the Eagles, you give it a couple weeks or whatever. They could have started to figure it out then. And the fact that we've kind of gotten this far is where my angst lays. But you know, the fact that Cosmi we're 6 months removed from the ACL tear, and he's moving around as well as he is out there, and no brace and all that stuff, certainly bodes well. And you know, I think that I wouldn't have had on my radar that there was a possibility, but looking at him walk, looking at him kind of run around a little bit, do some. I remember it was Tim Hightower, and this is 2009 or so, tore his ACL in Carolina, and he initially didn't want to get surgery, and we went out with him on like that Tuesday after he tore it, and he went through a full workout, squatting, legs, all that stuff, and I was shocked by it. And afterwards, he ended up getting the surgery or whatever, but kind of talking to him a little bit about it, it's more the side-to-side motion than it is kind of the forward, front, and back motion when you have an ACL injury. To see Cosmi on the side practice fields doing some side-to-side work, to me feels like he's probably ahead of schedule, and at least looking in a.
He looks good. I mean, just super base level, he looks good.
Right. Yeah. I got a chance to catch up with Tyler Biadasz today, which, by the way, he's just an awesome guy to talk to.
Yeah.
I was talking to him a little bit about.
He's more fun to talk to without a mic.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, he kind of shuts it down. Like, he's professional always, but like, you can have just good conversation without it being.
Right.
When the mic comes on, he gets a little different.
He was good. I mean, he gave me his best, Larry Izzo impression, where I asked him a question, and he talked for 5 minutes or whatever. But I think I've talked about it here, but I really think we talk about the continuity on the offensive side of the ball and how much that helps. I think that quarterback center continuity, the two of those guys working together in year 2, just is such a cementing factor that they're both kind of looking at defenses the same way. They're setting protections the same way. They know what they're looking for. And it was interesting to hear him kind of talk about that, and how you're able to kind of move faster and get through more stuff and maybe get deeper in Cliff Kingsbury's playbook, because you're not sitting there saying, hey, if I see the mic, shaded 3 or whatever, I can, I already know, hey, this is what he's thinking. If there's a free rusher, he knows that it's coming from this side or that side or whatever it may be, and they're able to kind of just process everything much quicker. It was an enlightening interview, and we'll have that sound for you probably later this weekend. But I think Biadasz is, as with most offensive linemen, but particularly centers, kind of flies under the radar with how important their role is in making an offense move.
I also think, one, if you want to watch me and the big man, this video operation worked pretty well. It looks cool, so it's on the Monumental Sports page if you want to watch it on YouTube, right?
Beltway monumentalsports.com / or youtube.com / monumental sports.
You don't know.
Beltway football.
You definitely don't know. I'll try to find it.
I think I'm right.
Okay.
At least close. Here's the thing.
I think I'm right, or at least close. The Mitch Tischler story.
You've lived in this world. You think anyone's sitting there pausing the pod and going back and saying, okay, I need to type in this? No, they type in YouTube, Beltway football. It'll be the first link that pops up.
Right. So I don't even know that there's an official YouTube. I don't know, but it's on there. So go watch it.
If you go to the Monumental Sports YouTube page, there's a set of slides for Beltway football.
Terrific. Trying to I can't figure this stuff out. I'm on the page.
Scroll down.
So it looks like it's just youtube.com/playlist ?list equals PLHHS SCM1YJK, something like that. Is that what you were going?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said, is it not?
Yeah. But it's there, dude.
Yeah.
Just Google it. Google me.
Same place you can find JP's TikToks.
Yeah. TikToks are off and running, dude. Should we make a little time for the stadium? Looks like the stadium made a big move today. To me, it looks like the stadium is happening.
Friday, they're voting on it.
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Yeah.
Certainly seems like it's going to pass. Mayor Bowser had a press conference, but probably a pep rally is a better way to describe it today to talk about it. You know, there are a bunch of changes made to the original proposal, a little bit more money for the city coming from parking and taxes and all that stuff. We're not going to get into those details.
Get more money for the city.
The most important thing, the damn stadium is going to be, it seems like it's going to be at RFK, and that is freaking exciting.
Are you done with Tyson's?
I still stand by Tyson's would have been listen, nothing was ever a better option than RFK. I only was pushing Tyson's as hard because I kind of felt like RFK was off the table.
Tyson's is the worst traffic in the area.
Tyson's would have been the best place. There's nowhere else that has more arteries out of it than Tyson's.
Of all your takes, I think that one's crazier than the Terry take from 2 days ago.
Listen, malls are dead.
Tyson's isn't. Do you want observations, one thing? What do you want to do?
Yeah, let's just talk a little bit about what we saw today. We can kind of make an observation slash one thing. You got something you want to start with?
Yeah, I mean, I just made a point of, I wanted to go watch Marshawn Lattimore, and he kept going wherever I wasn't. So I wanted to get up close and watch him. And a lot of people are asking how he's running. He looks like he's running fine. Like he's taking part in everything. At one point, he was kind of doing individuals, but I don't necessarily think that's a big deal. Lattimore looks how they want him to look. By all accounts, everybody is off and running with Lattimore. So let's hope that's accurate. And you kind of just keep going with that.
You know how we've seen Zach Ertz do a ton of side work during special teams drills and stuff like that? Marshawn Lattimore is kind of similar with that. During the special teams periods, he's off to the side. He was working on catching balls over the shoulder a bunch, doing a bunch of different things like that. It's going to be hard to tell how he really looks once they start. Most of the 11 on 11 they're doing is not full field 11 on 11. It's either from the 40, 30, 20, 10, goal line type stuff. So we're not seeing, kind of the full field stuff.
Which I wouldn't expect to on the second day of camp.
Yeah.
Right.
But expanding on Lattimore just more so, and granted, again, because it's a smaller field, it's a little bit maybe easier for these things to look good. But the quarterbacks are completing passes. You saw the Commanders post the Deebo Samuel touchdown from yesterday.
Super zoomed in on Deebo and you really don't see anything?
No comment on that. But for the most part, especially with what looks like the first team, the first team D, guys have been pretty glued to receivers, in these drills and in these 11 on 11 and 7 on 7 periods. And we've seen in the past, even in camp, receivers kind of running wide open and getting there. And it doesn't, granted, we're 2 days in, so it all comes with that caveat, but you're seeing, pretty solid coverage. You're not seeing early busts. And part of that, I think, is, for the most part, the continuity on the coaching staff that you have a lot of guys who have been there, done that, and are back.
Yeah, I agree with that. I got to talk to Brian Robinson today about what it means to have the whole coaching staff together, and he was clearly excited about it. I did just write a couple notes down. Offensively, Ja'Cory Brooks, you do notice his length.
Size.
Yeah, like he's skinny, but he's got real length. And I don't want to do this thing. I mean, this was how Ashburn syndrome started many years ago, where we start talking ourselves into receivers that are here because they're the guys that are here. It was funny talking with B about it. He's like, watching that offense, you do notice something's missing. And the thing that's missing is 17. But without 17 there, you are going to watch these other dudes more. Yesterday it was Chris Moore. Today I think it was Ja'Cory Brooks. I do think, though, Deebo has looked really good. Whatever really that conversation is about being fat, overweight, slow, he looks great. I thought Eckler's looked really good, too. And that's not a surprise.
He looks spry.
Very spry. And I think this time last year when we first saw him, we were like, damn, that dude is quick.
Yeah.
He still seems to have all of that. The issue with that was head injuries are just so
difficult to
scary.
deal with. You mentioned Debo. During the open period of practice, he spent a lot of time working one-on-one with Bobby Ingram, wide receivers coach. And a lot of it was on footwork and also kind of reading. It looked like reading DB's shade and kind of how to run what feels like some of those choice routes that they like to run, and kind of how to help Jaden, how to make sure that he and Jaden are on the same page when they're reading it. Then when you get to 11 on 11, you saw him on a little skinny post, and Jaden hit him right in stride, and it was, it's one of those things where you see them practice it, and it equates to the field almost immediately. So that was kind of cool. Jalen Lane today, he's working a little far down the depth chart, but it's he's young, he's learning what's happening. Like, it's not something that's happened that
That's also what DQ does with rookies.
Right. It's nothing that I would be overly concerned about.
Remember when people were mad Marcus Mariota was getting first snaps?
Yeah.
Relax.
He had some really nice little jukes in red zone / goal line plays, and he didn't always get the football when he got open, but there are a couple times that he left some DBs with their pants around the ankles, and it was that's what you want to see from him. I mean, you can only beat the guys in front of you, and just because the guy in front of you may not end up being on a 53-man
the depth
NFL
chart.
roster, exactly.
Right.
And hopefully as he continues to go, and you talked about Lattimore and Trey Amos and Mikey Sanders still, he's going to have an opportunity to play against some, play against a couple guys at least there who've proven they do it in the league.
I went and watched some D-line this morning. Enjoyed that a lot. Those guys are working hard, pushing hard. I think, one, it's cool just to the Von Miller, Ryan Kerrigan story that he'll tell here in a few minutes is really cool. I thought Eddie Goldman looked a little slimmer than I expected. I also love the level of technique and leverage they're coaching them in right now.
Daryl Tapp is
and
very...
just the speed they try to keep everything moving at. I don't know that this D-line is definitely going to be better, but I like that they tried something different. And Payne looks a little slimmer. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Johnny Newton's almost unrecognizable without the hair.
Yeah.
That threw me off. He was talking to a group, and I was like, man, who's 95? And I was like, oh, Jesus. It's weird to see somebody else in a 93 jersey for the first time in a while. But yeah, I mean, I do you think, and it's an easy thing to look up, you have my computer's dead, so you can take a look at it. Do you think Von Miller has more sacks than the rest of the D-line combined?
No.
Career. Von Miller has more career sacks
this year
than the rest of the D-line combined.
Yeah.
Career.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, there's nobody there right now that has...
How many do we think Von has? I can get that number pretty easily.
Yeah. Von's been in the league since...
He was drafted in 11 with Kerrigan, so that's 13 years. I mean, I bet he's got
140. Yeah, I was going to say 125, but that might be low.
All right, I'm pulling it up.
Yeah.
What number did I say? 140?
140.
Damn. 129 and a half.
Oh, I was only 4 off.
Yeah.
Or 4.5 off.
Now, it's been years since he's had a double-digit sack total. That hasn't happened since 2018. But 129 and a half, I mean, on this Commanders D-line, Payne has one season with double digits, right?
Dorrance Armstrong has... Did he have a 10-sack season in Dallas? I want to say
he had 9.5.
Or he had 9.5?
I don't. I'll pull it up.
I don't think anyone... Cleveland Farrell, no. I don't think anyone else has had a double-digit sack season.
Armstrong had an 8.5 in Dallas.
Okay. Yeah, so then there's no question.
Did Luvu have a double digit? No, right?
I don't think so.
He had 7 with the Panthers in 22 and then 8 last year.
I will say with regards to Luvu, him getting all those reps at defensive end I think is an important piece. But I also think there has to be a realistic look at how Frankie was last year. When he blitzed as a linebacker, he was really good at it. When he lined up with his hand in the dirt, he was overmatched quite often. And you hope that the extra time spent, it was his first year kind of really trying to do that. Hopefully the extra time spent during camp and during the offseason working on that. I think having Von hopefully will help all that as well. But that's something that I think that's a big piece of this pass rush and defensive line that I think is a question mark. Is if Vaughn is your only pass rusher, your only real legitimate pass rushing threat, teams can counteract that pretty easily. They can throw doubles, they can shade, they can bump at them, they can do a bunch of different things. So I think Luvu's development in that role is an important piece to the success of this defense in the passing game.
Agree with that. I have my one thing, but I don't want to slow you down if there's other stuff.
No, I mean, I'm ready for my one thing. You started talking about running backs a little bit. You had Brian Robinson for an interview. I talked to Bill Merritt today. One thing I love today from the 5-yard line, back-to-back plays for him. He took an inside run, scored a touchdown. The first one he jumped up and jammed it over the goalpost. The second one he went and did a little kind of finger roll over it. I was talking to him about that. He said he got a little overexcited. He's like, some of the vets kind of pulled me aside and were like, yo,
he's a young guy.
Take it down a peg for you. But we've talked about the influence of some of the veterans on.
He's listed at 5'11". That's some decent hops.
He got up and jammed. I mean, it wasn't like hit the rim and just barely went over. He got up. But we talked about Von Miller and some of these vets about how they can help, the other guys on the defensive side of the ball. I think you can look at it offensively as well. Merritt with his size is going to have to step up and, be able to, if he's going to be at least any part of like a third down back or scat backing type thing where he's kind of coming in, he's going to have to get better. He's going to have to be solid in pass pro. And, going up against the wily veteran, Bobby Wagner and Von Miller is only gonna help him. But I've really liked you talked about his quickness yesterday, and I think quickness is a great word for it, but he also does a really good job of getting skinny through holes, which is, kind of turning his shoulders and being able to slide between as opposed to, squaring up and going. And I think, I always think back to like Samaje Perine, who was a guy who was super strong, but he didn't really ever do a good job of helping himself. He was square shoulders and wanted to try and bull you over every time. And quite frankly, there aren't a lot of running backs that are able to run over D linemen or linebackers in the NFL these days.
Right. Yeah.
So like seeing somebody who is a little bit more of a slight build be able to kind of work, use that size as an advantage, hide behind the O-line a little bit, kind of find that gap and slide through, I think is an important trait. And I think it's something that is a little bit hard to teach. I think that's one of those things that you're kind of good at. So it was fun watching him today. You mentioned him yesterday, so when he kind of jammed that ball over the goalpost, I was like, let me zoom in on him a little bit and see what he's got.
I like that. How about this? This is not my one thing, but Tailgate Ted just tweeted out he introduced Mayor Bowser today at the pep rally for getting the stadium back in D.C.
I may be wrong, but
how about Tailgate Ted, dude?
I believe I heard Tailgate Ted talking about wanting to run for city council.
Oh, really?
He was displeased with the way things were going and was like, maybe I need to step in. And Tailgate Ted, God bless you, bud. That would be awesome.
Be the change you want to see in the world, I guess.
There you go.
My one thing is just about Kinlaw. So we went over and watched the D-line for a while, and it's one thing to see him and just see how big he is, but when you see him fire off the ball, like sometimes he's in a 4-point stance, and just like his size and length, power, like his legs, like these dudes nailed the Luvu signing last year, and I think in general people were more excited about the Luvu signing, like the fan base. Like the Kinlaw reaction, I think, was more all over the place, and a lot of people want to point to PFF.
I think the money. I think the Kinlaw money was a little. Was what I'm fine with. I'm just saying. I think that people were a little taken aback by it.
I've said from day one, I think people were wrong about the money. It's a tier 3 D-line contract, but they list him 6'5", 320. Like he's all of that, and I wonder if I could find this. Like he was a high first-round pick for a reason. Like I can only imagine how good his combine was.
His RAS score was probably super high.
But what do you think his wingspan is? I'm looking it up now just because I'm curious.
How tall did you say it was?
They list him at 6'5".
Oh, I bet it's a 6'10" wingspan.
So his arm I guess they only measure one arm, 34 and 7/8. So you double that up.
But that's only shoulder to tips, not your.
I don't know.
If it's 70 inches wide, plus probably another 15 or 20 inches wide for the chest.
Right.
You're talking, what is that? 85, 90 inches, which is.
So here we go.
7 feet.
His official combine wingspan was 83 3/4 inches.
7 feet.
I mean,
yeah.
It looks. We'll see what he's got, but damn, dude.
And for big, strong D linemen to have long arms is big because they can
harder.
They can extend it out and they can keep that distance from an O lineman getting their hands on them, and it's a big advantage for them.
Totally.
What'd you make of the jersey?
It's cool.
Yeah, I saw it yesterday. We talked about it yesterday a little bit. I was wondering if that was going to be cool with the coaches and folks, just that it's individualistic.
Bobby said it yesterday, man.
Yeah.
He's like, DQ lets you be who you are. I can't imagine anybody would care about that.
But also, to that point, I asked DQ this morning about Marshawn Lattimore and having the second season, and then maybe when we were talking Marshawn, I should have brought this up, but didn't dawn on me until now. And he kind of went on about how, middle of the season coming in is tough. He was injured. It was tough. Now he's had a full off season. He understands things more. But he was kind of done answering the question. He came back and he's like, it's also on Marshawn to tell us what he likes to do and what works well for him. And then it's incumbent on us as coaches to adjust to it. And I think when you talk about a player's coach, I think that's one of the things that you can look at and why folks kind of like DQ, because it's not my way or the highway.
Right.
It's, hey, I would like for you to do this, but let's work together to figure out the best way to achieve the final step. And for him to kind of bring that up about Marshawn, I thought was just an interesting, addition to allowing these guys to do what makes them successful, what made him, all Pro Bowl, when he was with the Saints and
a healthy hamstring.
That's the most important thing.